It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering Season 10 of Alliance, and we are going to be covering the teams that we need to shift around to make this run work. Now, main thing is Dark Cacao is going to be a huge influence of the first team because of all the shields in the early waves that you're going to be getting. In addition, you're going to be fighting a decent amount of boss monsters, so that's why Caviar is going to be really helpful here because of that defense down reduction. In addition, we have Cream Puff and Pomegranate buffing and quick super healing. Plus, don't forget the Cream Puff is really good against wave clearance against most enemies. Same with this Espresso. And because of positioning, Espresso is going to be in the back, so it's going to be helpful for a lot of the runs that we're going through. Toppings are as usual. You can run either damage resistance or cooldown for Caviar. I would recommend if you're going to run cooldown, make sure you have a high enough damage resistance. Otherwise, just run full almonds on its own because of how squishy he is. Pomegranate, cooldowns. If you don't have high enough monument or labs for critical, go ahead and run Searing instead for Espresso. And you have to run apple jellies for Cream Puff to get that super success. Otherwise, you won't get the high damage that she does when you do. Now, if you haven't unlocked Black Pearl, it is fine to use Lilac here, or a couple other potential cookies that do good AoE damage. But the speed team is going to be your team for Wave 49. Wave 49 is a very powerful, very tough wave, and so for that reason, you're going to really need this team. Now, if we go through to the third team, this one's just all-out super damage. Milk is there to pull all the damage to him while everyone else just unloads on single targets or wave clearance because they can do both. The thing is why Rise there is because sometimes you'll be in a situation where you'll have a wave of a bunch of critters, but you'll have one boss, and so Rye can handle against the boss while everyone else is handling the critters. So that's why that team's designed as such. T-Night team, this one, it's a really good build because Crunchy is going to get some of the buffs that's going on. Sorbet and Vampire are going to be taking care of the front and the back line. Financier and T-Night are going to just be absolutely tanking most of the damage. So they're going to be a well-built team to just kind of get through any really tough waves. And then Team 5, this would be what you would consider our main team traditionally. But because of the fact that the waves have issues where you need shield removal to get through them, this team doesn't actually cut it. And in Wave 8 and Wave 12, there's damage reflection that can kill a Claire and even potentially Wildberry if you're not careful and don't have the right toppings. So that's going to be really important and influential as well. So we're personally running the critical toppings here, but you can, of course, go ahead and run almonds or cooldowns as you would traditionally. And so I'm just going to go through the other teams' toppings real quick so that you can see those. Pause as you need to. And then the main thing to focus on is that your damage resistance is going to need to be pretty heavy through this season if you want to make it pretty high. So let's take it into battle and show you what's going on. Main thing I noticed with this season is that they do not have any special cookie buffs. Now, I'm not sure if they forgot to do it, if they just chose not to do it, or if they didn't see enough utilization from players and removed it completely. It's hard to say for certain, so I don't want to really judge that too soon, but it is a potential because we just don't see it at all. Now, as you can see, we already hit Wave 12. You can see Caviar took quite a lot of damage, and that's because even though my lab upgrades and all my other stuff are very well upgraded, the early waves are actually doing quite a lot of damage to a lot of players. I've seen some players tell me last season they got to like Wave 40. This season they were only able to get to like Wave 13. Some others that can't get past like Wave 20. So that's why I'm doing the full guide. I was considering actually just skipping to the really hard waves that at least posed a challenge for me. But for those that might be getting stuck at the early points, I wanted to show you what team's working and how maybe you can build something to get through them, because I've already seen quite a lot of people struggling for those reasons. So I'm hoping that this can be helpful. So try to save your speed team for wave 49. You may end up needing it for wave 43, but honestly, I would just recommend using the T-Knight team for 43 if you don't mind losing cookies. It depends on if you've had your feather revive repop during the specific waves, because if you're not careful, you don't have the right topping setups, your feather might activate on wave 8 or wave 12. And if that's the case, you don't have a revive later in the fields. So be cognitive of that happening and where your run is at in the overall scheme of battles. So as you can see, this team, though, it's handling pretty well. We're up into 23. We've spent 2 minutes in match. Overall, it's taking care of things. What's really nice is that Espresso and Dark Cacao both pose injury. So even if there is healing units, which there is, they're going to have issues completely healing back because we will be imposing those injuries so that they cannot get back too far. In addition, we're getting our attack raised by Pomegranate, and we are getting those super spells by Cream Puff. If we pause real quick and look at the stats, you can see that Cream Puff is lower than the other three, as Ancient and Magic Candy are clearly going to be doing great damage, but Caviar is doing awesome damage too, because he's doing that AoE combustion damage against everybody, and so he is just plowing right along. Cream Puff is, however, overhealing in comparison to what Pomegranate is doing, and that's because of that critical being achieved more often than not because of the scythe that we have. So it's a good team setup for that reason. That's why it's handling well, and hopefully it can handle well for you guys too. But you are going to run into quite a lot of waves that are just overall stronger. Now, what this could mean is that either they wanted us to really, really tweak around with the teams so that we had a lot of thought, a lot of vigor put into what we assemble, or maybe they wanted us to think about, how can we not use the same team that we've always used? So there could be some instances of that happening here. But a potential thought is that maybe they're priming us for some changes. My initial thoughts go to the Guild Museum, because with the Guild Museum we do have in construction areas that have not completely been built yet, that if they were to be built, could provide either more relics or more statue benefits or buffs. It's really hard to say for sure what they could be, but if that is the case, then that is one potential way that they're priming us with a little hints here. So it's hard to be certain, but it's an interesting thought to start. Now, as you can see, this boss, Wave 40 boss, pretty strong one. We should have switched out earlier, but it's okay, because at this point we're at that level where the shield removal isn't needed as much anymore. So we're going to go ahead and run this team until we get to Wave 43, which is coming next, and then we will switch to the TK team, because Latte and Espresso are still very powerful in the later waves. So as you can see, they got the silence on us, they have the interruptions from their skills, so that's why we're not able to just completely plow through. But Vampire doing a great job taking out the enemy, keeping the team alive overall. And then we're going to let this run just a few more waves, and then we will get to the point where we move over to our speed team for wave 49. So we'll change back, let our teams push through a little bit, and then just mentally prep to change when we get to wave 49, because that is a very tough wave. A good wave, very good design in the sense of hard and hard to beat, but overall it's a tough wave. So this team should be able to handle up until that wave, as long as you have your toppings correctly set up. But if not, you might have to switch between a couple of your other teams. So do keep that in mind as well. So here we go, one more wave, and then we're going to get to the super hard team killing, team clearing wave. This wave itself is strong as well, and we may have to even swap to get through it depending. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and let our T-Knight team run, do its thing. just because of the healing that's on the Gaunt Goblins and the overall damage output that they can do. And then we'll just try to keep whittling them down as we can, because they've got a good amount of healing, as you can see. Alright. And then last but not least, we got to switch over to our speed team as soon as we get the chance. And then just get that burst damage out. It's really those back sorcerers that bring up those walls, and they're able to hit through your entire team, so they're the real problem. And see, I mistimed it there. I shouldn't have brought out Team 3 in that wave before. I should have just let the speed team clear it. And so because of that, we're still able to get through because of our AoE damage between Seafarer and Clouded here. But as you can see, we're going to hit a run here where we're not going to be able to push through the rest of the way. It's definitely tough. My other thing I wanted to mention, and I can't prove it, but it's an interesting thought, is that maybe this is also a primer for large or extra large toppings. Now, I know that we've seen sprites of them. They've technically been leaked like way, way long ago, so it's really impossible to be certain about that, but it's very unlikely that they would just do a level cap increase this soon after they've already done one, even with the statue levels. So the next best thought I had was, well, if Alliance is so much harder, then maybe they're getting us prepped for new toppings instead, or even a rework to toppings. Because if I show you here, we go over to the labs, and just comparatively thinking, if we go to the labs, we've got the Alliance ones almost maxed out. We've got everything at least above a level 5 for most of the trees. Some of them not so much, some of them are. And some of them we just even have maxed completely. And so between that should be enough between those, the guild relics, and everything else we have going. And, you know, I personally have a level like 53 statue. All of that should be helping push this through even further. So the only other potential that it could be is just, it might be a bug. There might be special buffs that just aren't applying yet that are supposed to be there. It might be that it's not taking into factor your statue levels and other things, so you're playing it like almost a master mode style where everything's dulled down. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. But this team, this is like the best setup to get you through and to get you at least to wave 50. You might be able to go further if you time it better than I did in this video, but for the sake of saving your time, I want to go ahead and keep it short for you guys. So I hope this is helpful for you. It's definitely a whopper of a season. So we'll see if Dev Sisters says that there's other changes, or if this is just, you know, quiet hints to what's to come. Hard to say just at the moment. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will hope you have a wonderful day.